and you watched Meghan's latest podcast interview. You are a body language expert. And, I have to applaud you and apologize at the same time for this latest Meghan Markle podcast episode, or appearance, I should say. Can I ask you right off the top?
All right, let's break down this wild ride of an interview, the latest Meghan Markle podcast appearance that had royal watchers, body language experts, and just about everyone else scratching their heads. Scott Rouse, the body language expert being interviewed here, basically took one for the team and sat through the full episode, and what he saw was, in his words, like watching two completely different women. Now, we've all seen Meghan adjust her tone depending on the audience, but according to Rouse, this was a masterclass in chameleoning.
It's Emma Grand, I think is how you pronounce her name, versus
so.
Jamie Kern Lima. I felt a sense, and maybe Meghan is catering to the different audiences she feels like these women have, but I felt like I was watching two different women between those two different interviews. Meghan's a little more confident in the Emma podcast, in this latest podcast, a little more defiant. And in the Jamie Kern Lima, she's soft. She really wants you to like her. Oh, I'm just so sweet. But there's more of her trying to be a girl boss in the latest episode. Am I reaching there?
You're exactly right. In the first one with Jamie Kern Lima, I
Jamie
think that's what
Kern
his name.
Lima.
Oh, in that situation, she's she's trying to kiss her hind end, in other words, because she's the one that I believe, from what it looks like to me, she's probably helping her with this, and she's maybe funding some of it, of her was as ever
Ever, yeah.
stuff. So, and I think she's sort of being her mentor, and so she's loaded and lives down the street from her. So she's trying to keep that bond really happening. Whereas she goes to this other interview, and she's supposed to be showing how, well, I'm an entrepreneur too, and I've done all these things. I'm in charge. I know how to do all this. So you're seeing somebody over there that's supposed to be acting like she's friends with Jamie Kern Lima. So you see
Yes.
that the whole, oh, we're just relaxed and being authentic. And with this one, it's supposed to be business. So that's the way she's acting. So you're seeing two different personalities, but she's chameleoning herself to be palatable toward Jamie Kern Lima, and the same thing for Emma. So it's fascinating to watch because you're actually seeing what would look like two different personality types, but it's the one person. But since we understand that personality type, we'll know that she'll try to mold herself to be like Jamie Kern Lima. That's why she would talk like her and try to look like her and say the same thing she was saying. And this other one, she's doing the same thing, but taking on a different posture and a different delivery. Like you were saying earlier, her voice tone is stronger. There are some of those hmms in there, but not quite as many. There's no hind end kissing really on the other one, like there was in the first one.
That's so something you just said, her positioning herself as an expert in the second podcast, in the one that recently came out. She makes some comment about, when she's specifically talking about the podcast, because she says it's going on hiatus. And I'd love your opinion on whether you feel, based on what she said, if it's really going on hiatus, or if this is just her trying to downplay not continuing to pursue this podcast. But she says she's taking a step back from the podcast, or putting it on pause because of recommendations, because of suggestions from some of the women she spoke to throughout the process of the podcast, and how she needs to focus on one thing. But she also says, like, advice from other people, advice from myself, like, to ensure us that she is also an expert who gives herself really good advice. I cringe in those moments. Were there any takeaways for you when it came to her discussing the pausing of the podcast? And have you noticed that a lot of, sometimes even our criticism of her, it feels like she tries to explain those things away in these interviews. She finds moments to try to discredit some of these reports.
Well, that's probably the reason she did the interview. If you look at it from that way, because the most important thing, let's assume she's a narcissist, a clinical narcissist. That's what they tried. The worst thing that can happen to a narcissist is you can damage its ego. So once that ego is damaged, they'll do everything to make that work without. And in this case, she can't be mad or angry toward these people. She can't do anything bad to them. Whereas people in her personal life, in her little circle, she would do bad things too, talk bad about them, treat them badly, those kind of things. But in this situation, I think she's sort of there's a problem. She's trying to make it look like there's not a problem. So she's saying this is something I've decided to do, so it doesn't hurt her ego. So they're really fragile because at the root of a narcissist, they can't stand themselves. They don't like themselves at all, and they want everybody to like them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rub you're seeing there. That's why you're seeing the two different things. So she'll mold herself to fit in with Jamie Kern Lima, and then she'll mold herself to fit in with Emma. So it's two different. They look like two different personalities on the top, but down at the bottom, it's the same personality type. The high-end clinical narcissist.
In one interview with Jamie Kern Lima, Meghan is soft, overly sweet, full of humility. She's a girl next door who desperately wants you to like her. In the other, with Emma Grede, she's all business, confident, defiant, a self-declared girl boss who's allegedly running empires. Same Meghan, totally different vibes. At one point, Meghan says, it's okay to say no. It's okay to pivot. It's okay not to explain yourself.
Oh, I mean, it's just so uncomfortable to watch. For you, these highs and lows or this chameleon type of thing, do you think that you are saying it quickly and because this is what you do for a living, or is it so blatant? Because I often wonder this, are her actions so blatant that a normal person would recognize this, or or are there people that are going to fall for it and be like, wow, she just gets along with everybody, she's just like everyone?
Well, that's a great question, because the reason that especially women, and there's a reason for this, and so hear me out, I'm getting to it, don't like her or feel weird when they watch her. They go, I don't know what it is about her I don't like, but I just don't like her. The brain takes in all kinds of information, takes in everything that your eyes see. Your brain takes in that information and it sorts it out and decides what you're seeing. Now, there's a difference in a woman's brain and a man's brain. Men take in information really quickly, these little chunks of it, and we think we know everything. That's why we think we know everything, because we have what's called a gut feeling. We get a gut feeling from all these things, all this information we take in. However, that happens very quickly. With women, what happens is this. Their brain is set up differently, so it takes in the information in these big groups. There's this thing called the fusiform gyrus. It's about a quarter inch in, right in here. And then that takes in all the little movements and things that you see that happen with somebody's body language or in a situation. Then you have the mid-temporal gyrus just below that, and that takes in all the big movements and all the big things that happen in a person's body language or in a situation. Now, once those things start grabbing that information, it throws it back to this thing called the locus ceruleus in the back of your brain, at the brain stem. It's about as big as a BB. And it starts sorting through all that information and going, have I seen this before? Will this hurt me? What does this look like? Is this something I've heard before or somebody else say that was bad for me? Those kind of things to check the threat of what's happening, and other things as well. But that's, in a nutshell, what's going on. And for men, it happens very quickly. And that little bit of information we get, it goes back to them and say, oh, here's what this is. But with women, they get the details. And that's why it takes them longer to decide what happened, because you'll hear women say, I don't know why I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
Something's not right about that guy. And I just don't know. Because you'll ask, well, why don't you like him? I don't know. I don't know. But you wait a day or two and
Yeah.
they'll be in the shower or they'll be driving and it'll hit them why they don't like that person. And it'll be something that's real. It won't be just something, oh, just because I don't. They'll see what it is. You all, women, see what it is. Whereas we don't see that right off. It takes a while for us to learn that.
That's interesting. Yeah, you'll just be in the grocery store and you're like, I know exactly what it is. He reminds me of so and so from 1996 that I met in a Walmart
There you
parking
go.
lot, whatever. All right. So Meghan
Yeah.
says in this podcast that she struggled to get work because she was a mixed race actor. I mean, she met Prince Harry because she did inevitably find some success as an actress. What did you feel when she said that? frustrates me when she says this stuff, mostly because I think, look at the blessed position you're in today. Why not focus on how lucky you are today to be where you're at, versus dwelling in the past and also dwelling on something that.
Which sounds empowering, until you remember she literally said no to being a royal after 17 months. She's been saying no ever since. No to family, no to tradition, no to responsibility. Rouse laughed at her use of the word pivot. In the business world, a pivot means changing your business model, not hopping from duchess to jam seller. He says she's parroting phrases she's heard, using the language of entrepreneurship without understanding the mechanics.
Might have been your own insecurity and not necessarily the truth. There might be and you've got an entertainment background too. There's no casting director that's ever come forward and said, I didn't hire her because she was mixed race. I mean, it could have sincerely just been she wasn't good enough, or she wasn't the right girl for the role. Sometimes it's just you were made for a role and you get it. Like, I think she was for Suits.
Yeah. And and the reason she goes back and visits those things, especially the good parts. So Mom's a great actress. I did this and I did that. It's because, again, it dealing with the ego. We all deal with our own egos, and the story you tell yourself is the best version of you, period. But in her situation, she keeps going back to the same ones over and over and brings those up and can find a place to spot those, sit those in almost any situation when that conversation starts.
Yeah.
Here's my story, bang. Here's this that goes with it, bang. So it's almost like a protocol she follows, which is normal for a narcissist of that level.
Now, one place where my BS meter really went off was when she's talking about how her children are privileged, and the way she teaches her children about, the value of money is that they garden together, they plant the seed, they watch it grow. And then she kind of claims that they erect a booth at the farmer's market so that and that is just something we would read about in the National Enquirer or Star Magazine. You know what I mean? I have a really hard time believing that that's the truth. Do you have any, or did you see anything specifically when she's telling the story about how she's teaching her children the value of money through gardening and through this produce?
That's just the story she's telling to make herself look good.
Yeah.
I don't think she's ever put up a booth there, because they take pictures of everything. They take pictures when it looks important to them. When she looks goofy dancing around the hospital room, one of the most personal and intimate times of your life, having a baby. A lot of people will show you videos and pictures from that, but nothing like that.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great point. It's not just the National Enquirer that would tell us, it's Meghan Markle. We would have seen the booth. Also, I mean, I imagine that when you go set up at the farmer's market, you've got to call ahead. You have to, there are some procedures that you have to follow. And but that is absolutely hilarious. Meghan is her own paparazzi. You are right. She would have had those pictures all over Instagram by now. Like, she took the pictures of the giant bag full of produce that everyone said, there's no way that's from your garden. Corn isn't growing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what she would do. She wants you to see her doing these wonderful things for her children and other people. So you will think she's a good person and she's nice and she's wonderful. That's the root of that clinical narcissist.
That's so weird. Meghan says she's proudest of investing in herself. She says, it's been so many years since we came over here, talking about California. I do think it takes a little bit of courage to bet on yourself, and that's felt really good. I mean, it's not that hard to bet on yourself when you have a royal safety net. She knows that people line up to work with her, whether she has a history of failing or not, because of her proximity to the British royal family. Does she think that other female entrepreneurs are buying this?
She's hoping they will. When it comes to entrepreneurs, I was the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center from 2011 to 2017, and all I did was work with the new startups there and CEOs and taught them how to pitch and showed them what pitches were made out of. Worked on their body language to make sure they were believed. If they were a good person, I'd make sure that was first, but make sure they could be trusted and they could get along with anybody within the first couple of minutes they met them. And women will come to see her and listen to her because they think she's successful. no matter what's happened, she does look successfu even though we
Well, I
know the
mean,
money's
yeah, I'd
coming.
love to secure a prince, Scott. I'd love to secure
Yeah,
a prince.
yeah, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So, I wish one of my buddies was, so I could, that'd be
Yeah.
great. But so that's what they're looking to her for leadership. If they're going to her, they're going to her for that leadership, and that's the position she's trying to put herself in, is a position of leadership. So, because if you listen to what she's talking about things that I'm not so sure she's familiar with. That's why I suggested you talk to Michael Bertram.
Yeah, I will.
Like, oh man, because he'll be able to set you straight
But
on
you
all that
are
and
my
say, this is,
priority, okay?
oh, thank you. So,
But yeah, when she
but
says things like skew or Q4,
mhm,
you can tell that she is trying to utilize specific language to convince other people that she's in this world that I don't really think she, like you said, that I think it's all an act, because the reality is everything's been so messy.
mhm.
All of these launches have been so messy that who in their right mind would consider it a reasonable strategy?
Well, she's the CEO, so she's supposed to understand everything in that company, from finances to distribution to how much it costs to get that product made. Where is it? How many do we have? She should be on top of all of that. And what she's talking about, and I think Michael will say this if you end up talking to him, you'll see she's just brushing over those. She's parroting what she's heard other people say.
Mhm.
And they say, be sure you cover this, and this, because she has those little talking points. But I would venture to say she can't go very deep on any of them, because I don't think she's the one in charge. I think she's the one that sends her, goes, oh, it's me, and this is my company, and I'm the CEO. And you go, yeah, right. And you have everybody else doing the work. And they understand that. The people under her will understand that. She's just the forward-facing branding for the company.
And again, it comes back to that ego protection. Every pivot, every pause, every new project is just another rebrand, another attempt to rebuild her image without ever admitting failure. When you look at the big picture, the two podcasts, the mirrored personalities, the contradictions, the rehearsed vulnerability, what you see isn't authenticity, it's performance. Meghan is endlessly reshaping herself to fit whatever image sells best that week. The victim, the mogul, the mom, the rebel, the healer. But as Rouse points out, that constant shifting isn't strength. It's insecurity. She's chasing external validation, molding herself into reflections of other people's success stories instead of building her own from the ground up. Her body language betrays it every time. The stiffness, the self-soothing gestures, the quick topic pivots whenever things get uncomfortable. Her words are confident, but her posture isn't. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments section. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think or what you want to see next.